Okay, we're good.
Okay, check. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Young, another segment of What's in Your Hand. And I just want to say that it is said that ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. And I say that because my birthday is 7/7. That's Matthew 7/7. I said, I need to share that. So ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door shall be open to you. Well, now we are here in the studio, and I have a wonderful guest. And you know what? I always had challenges with your name, Donnie.
Dione Cespedes.
Cespedes. Dione Cespedes. Wow, what a creative name. And you said you're Cuban and
Puerto Rican.
Cuban and wow. That's a nice little mix there. Nice little. I'm in the salad, so that's a nice little salad there.
Absolutely.
So let's get right down to business because here we are. This is the first show here for me, 2020. Maybe later on we'll talk about this thing called 2020 because there was the Roaring Twenties. I don't think you know. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Roaring Twenties?
Yes, a bit.
Right. And then there was the Harlem Renaissance. Mm-hmm. That was like in a magnificent time. So now we want to talk about the work that you're doing. Now you do a program. Your program is called Soul Strivers.
Yes. So I run a company called Soul Strivers Financial Fitness, and we've been around for a decade. And what we do is we provide financial education in 5 languages: English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, and Cantonese. And we also provide coaching, and that's how I'm here today, because I want to talk about how people actually reach their financial goals and their overall project goals. And I want to share some tips and some obstacles that people usually encounter when they are trying to reach their financial goals.
Now, you said financial fitness. Does that mean you're going to be doing exercise as well?
Absolutely. No, financial fitness is just making sure that you are financially stable, or even better, and financially healthy. So we talk about fitness, and normally we talk about keeping our bodies healthy. But financial fitness is about keeping our financial situation one that helps us to be healthy.
I guess you would know this, but there's a lot of people that's struggling financially.
Yes.
Growing up, a lot of people didn't get the financial education. And it's funny because I interviewed a young lady Friday. She wrote a book called Is Your Child a Money Master or a Money Monster?
Oh.
And I believe that most people are what they call money monsters. And I think I like her philosophy because it's like you teach a child at a young age how to learn to be financially savvy at a young age, doing chores around the house. Get your allowance.
Yes.
You don't do the chores, you don't get your allowance. So they learn, I do this, I get this. As opposed to just, some people want to just take care of their children. Like, I want to take care of you, whatever you need, I buy it for you. How about teach them how to be financially responsible and do for themselves?
Yes. Well, sometimes what happens is if we've grown up in a modest background or an impoverished background, and then we grow up to be successful, middle class to successful, then we say, I want to give my child everything I never had. And in doing that, we think we're doing a great deed, but what we're really doing, giving them everything I never had without teaching them how to manage their money, what we're doing is we are putting them in a position where they will be weak money managers as adults. So sometimes we have to remind ourselves that, yes, I may be able to give them everything they ask for, but if I do things like institute an allowance and teach them how to manage their allowance and say no sometimes and work with them through their obstacles without solving their problems for them, if I do those types of things, then they're going to grow up to be better life managers and better money managers.
That's right. That's exactly right, because these young girls, they're going to pay for their own college. They're only 15. So what she did, she bought them little banks, and when the banks got filled up, she took them to the bank, opened up accounts.
Yes.
They opened up accounts, and they learned how to manage their money. Birthdays came up, father's birthday, mother's birthday. They have their own money to buy their parents gifts, and now they're learning money management. One person that I know, they told me that at a certain time, their father used to guard the kitchen. To guard the kitchen. At a certain time, if you try to get in that kitchen, it was like running into a middle linebacker. You better watch yourself. He put lockdown on the kitchen at a certain time.
And that was for what reason? For what reason did he lock down the kitchen?
Because he was born in a time when food, during the Depression, and you had to, take care of your food. You can't just, wait a minute, we got something. Somebody want to say something over there.
Well, I'm glad you brought up my dad, but, but he was a Depression person. And, if you sat down at the table to eat and you didn't finish something, he'd be going, hey, you going to finish that? And if you didn't, he'd take it and put it in the refrigerator and save it for later because, I guess he was the person. I keep saying Depression, and every night at like at 6 o'clock, kitchen's closed. So he catch you down there in the kitchen. He come down there like the police.
Wow.
And he would go, "What you doing in there?" We just had dinner. So
I could understand that because a lot of people, they just think there's a lot of waste going on.
Yes.
There's a lot of waste. So I could kind of understand him to a certain extent. But I just want to definitely throw that in there, though. That he had the kitchen on lockdown. Like, you ain't get.
Yeah, he made you appreciate the food.
Okay.
that he prepared every day.
Well, I suppose it's a good way to manage one's weight as well, because
Absolutely.
you're not eating past 6 o'clock.
Absolutely.
But you know what? I think that is real. That's some old school stuff there. Old school. I think it's important to share with kids how the household budget works. So one of the things that we do as a company is we run some games for the entire family, and one of them is called Be a Grown Up. And with Be a Grown Up, what we do is we bring parents and their children into a room, and we put the children in the role of the adult who manages the household budget, and we put the parent or the adult who came with them in the role of the child. And then we talk to the child about what is necessary, what are the necessary items in a household budget. And children as young as 4 and 5 can tell you what's necessary. They know the difference between a luxury and a necessity. So they will tell you what's necessary, and then the next step is we give them some fake Soul Strivers money, and we give them a deadline. We give them a timed. We give them some time to figure out how to allocate the money that they have, and then the parent who is playing the role of the child just gets to ask for all the toys and all the goodies that we as Soul Strivers provide for them. So in that exercise that lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, the kids playing have a real sense of what it takes to run a household. And they've also learned a bit about stocks and a bit about working, because within the simulation that we do, they have the opportunity to take some of their money and purchase stocks. And they also have the opportunity to work do little jobs within the game to make more money. So that's one way that you can teach a child about, the household budget, by actually creating a simulation of your own. The other way is to include them when you're doing the grocery list. Include them, have them add
About
up
that?
all of the
About
costs of
That's-
the things. Include them when you're thinking about things that affect your entire household. So if you are thinking about the rent, or you're thinking about buying a new car, or you're thinking about getting a Metro card, whether you're going to get a $30 Metro card or you're going to get a $127 Metro card, include your child in those discussions. By the time your child is 8 or 9, your child should have a pretty good sense
Wow.
of the money, the cash flow through your household. Two things. Sometimes parents say, well, I don't want to share that information. That information is private. Then my child is going to take that information and take it out of the house and tell everybody. And just like other family secrets, if you will, children know if you tell them, listen, I need this to stay in the household, just like all the other things that stay in the household, they know how to do that. And then number two is, how much you make is not so much of a secret, because if someone knows what you do for a living, they can tell within a range how much you make. So that's not a secret.
Right.
And for that, so you risk a little bit of your privacy by opening up the books. But what you get in return is a young person who knows how you manage your money, how you manage the household, and can make decisions as they get older about how to manage their money. And we'll know, okay, well, the reason I shouldn't even ask for those $900 sneakers is because our rent is XYZ, and the income coming into the house is ABC. So I could do the math myself and see that those $900 sneakers are probably not the best choice.
The name, Soul Strivers. Soul, the bottom of your shoe.
No, it's SOLESTRIVERS.com. Soul Strivers.
So, what's the first?
SOLE.
Okay.
STRIVERS. And the company, it's actually a product line. The full name of the company is the Goal Attainment Companies, but Soul Strivers took off. The word or the phrase Soul Strivers, it describes people who are the first in their families or the first in their peer groups to begin building wealth above, say, the $100,000 level. So this whole thing started because when I was first starting to build wealth myself, I didn't have money mentors who could tell me how to manage my money beyond just survival. So there were plenty of places I could go to learn how to create a budget, but there was no one really to tell me what a financial planner did, what an accountant did, why I would need a lawyer, how to buy stocks, how to buy other investments, all those types of things that come after building a survival amount of money. I didn't have anybody to tell me how to do that. So I made some mistakes. So one of the worst mistakes I made was when I was in my 20s. The good part is that I had saved. I had been working on and off since I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, selling candy since I was 6. So I had saved a lot of money, and by the time I was in my 20s, I had an amount that was close to $100,000 in cash, and I was also unbanked. So I actually kept a lot of my money in photo albums. The old-timey photo albums where you peel the plastic. I used to put the money in.
Wait, hold up a second. Can we back up a second?
Like the ones you got now?
Yeah, well, this is not a photo album. This
looks
is
like
this
one.
is a book.
Any money in that thing?
Well, actually, there's a lot of money in this one. We'll talk about what this book is.
Okay.
It's called "Make Your Dreams Happen: 5 Steps to Turn Your Dreams into Realities," and there's a lot of money in this book for people who follow the directions. But
Can I take a picture of that book?
sure. But the point was that I didn't have an understanding of what you really should do with your money. So once I realized that I had, tens of thousands of dollars, I started spending it.
Wait a second. First of all, let me back up. That's very unusual for a child to save up over 100,000.
Well, close to 100,
it.
yeah.
I think
Still.
she's a grown up, man, when she got that.
Yeah, I was 20. I was like
She's a grown-up when she got to the
26
100.
by 26,
Still,
27.
Still, people don't. That's like what? How do you do that?
Okay, so let's start there because I did the good steps and then I messed up. So the good steps were that I saved almost every dollar that I had ever made. I started working. I worked all through college.
And you live for free.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I
That's
lived
how
for
that
free.
happens. You got to live for free if you want to say that kind of money, Jack.
I lived for free. I was tutoring for. I was started as a paid tutor, probably around 10 or 11. So, and then I worked for my dad, answering telephone calls. He has a small business, and then I left him because he
Because he overpaid you.
He
overpaid you.
Well, that's what he said. He
I
said,
know
"Look,
that's what he
I
said.
paid-
You damn
I
skippy."
paid- I paid for the roof.
That's right. He counted everything. He was counting everything. You
exactly.
wasn't.
And I was
Typical woman.
I was upset because there was a 25-cent difference between what he was paying me and what I wanted.
Wow.
So I decided that I was going to go get another job.
That cost him, didn't it?
Yeah, well, Dad said, all right. I was young. I was 12 and a half, 13. And he said, well, nobody's going to hire you because you're a little bit too young, so nobody's going to hire you. And I went, this was in Queens. So there's a shopping strip in Queens, Jamaica Avenue shopping strip, and it's very long. And I went and I knocked on every business door, like from beginning to end. I think I ended in the 150s until somebody said yes, that they would like me to come in and work for them. So I did. I did that for 3 years. So I saved every penny I made there. And then when I left there, this was at the time of where computers were just starting to be used in businesses. So it tells you how old I was. But I was one of the few people on the block, if you will, who was able to use, it wasn't Excel, it was called Lotus 123, which was a spreadsheet program. And I helped the businesses to convert what they're doing in ledgers to Excel. Well, sorry,
that.
to Lotus 123.
I remember that.
So I made money that way. And then I also worked as a cashier. I worked as a hair model. So
I'm a
basically,
hustler, baby.
exactly. So, and then I never spent any of the money. So that's how we got there. And I worked all through college.
Okay, how'd you throw it away though? That's always interesting.
That's really.
How'd you throw it? Because you got to pay to learn in life.
Yes, it is.
All right, so how'd you learn?
So-
How'd you pay to learn?
So here's the problem. Although I knew about investing, and I even had a cousin who had bought a brownstone in Harlem for a low amount of money. Even though I knew those things, I saw those things, I knew them, but I didn't have someone to sort of be next to me and tell me these are the things you should be doing. So here's what I did. I traveled around the world a bit.
That's a real money maker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I hired an in-house assistant to assist me with all my important things.
That always works.
Exactly. I had a small business at this time, and I took on clients who could not pay me. And then, but I paid everybody who helped me to service the clients. So that was money out the door. And then I became, for family members and friends, I became the person who was called for every wedding, funeral, school trip. If you needed some money, you knew to call me because
Wow.
I would give you
Still,
that money.
still easy like that?
No. In fact, Soul Strivers has a program called helping others, protecting yourself, which is based on that part of my life. But I didn't just spend the money that I had, and this is the real bad part. Once I started spending money, I started getting credit cards. So not only did I spend all my money, I started using the credit cards. So I went from having, let's say, somewhere in the $70,000 to $90,000 range in pretty much in cash,
Wow.
right, to 150,000 ish in debt.
Wow.
Right. The good news is that I had a skill set that allowed me to make money in an investment bank. So it took me about 3 years to have a net worth of zero, which means I paid off everything. But I learned a lot through that process. And one of the things I always wanted to do was help others not to go through that
Okay.
that same type of learning process. So then I went to corporate. I worked on a bunch of different projects, ending with a project that had me managing investment funds to invest in and with women and minority-owned investment management firms. So I learned finance from the other side, and somewhere in there I got an MBA. And then we started Soul Strivers in 2009, 2010, and the name Soul Strivers is the first mission of the company was to help people who came from modest backgrounds or impoverished backgrounds and are now making money, to help them understand what they need to do with their money so that they could build wealth for themselves and generational wealth, instead of going to the ABC festival, spending 2 weeks in Mexico or France or all the other places that I went.
So where do you have your MBA from? Where do you have an MBA from?
Howard University.
Oh, wow. And what's your specialty?
My
In the
specialty
MBA.
there was marketing.
Okay. Still on the track then.
So there's a thing that you mentioned, and I for some reason I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I mention it, and it's something that you did, and especially when you were young. This thing called creativity
Yeah.
and imagination is something that you use. For some reason, a lot of people are not tapping into that skill set, or is it a skill set? Creativity and imagination, and if it is, how do you
Yeah.
tap into that?
Creativity and imagination, they are things that we are born with. And as we grow, and when we're very young, we use it naturally to solve problems. We're very creative. Human beings are very creative mammals, right? But as we get older and we start to enter systems like the school system, and then maybe it's the corporate work system, or maybe it's the government work system, then little by little we are taught how to follow rules, and if all you're doing is following rules, then you're tending not to use that natural skill set that you have, that natural imagination, because if you're told exactly how to do something, and you're told exactly how to do something enough times, then you stop thinking about innovative ways to do it.
We're creatures of habit.
Sure, yes.
So speaking of habit, What becomes present for you when I said the term, ask and it will be given to you, seeking you will find, knocking the door will be open to you? What became present for you when you heard that?
Well, it's our 5-step process for turning dreams into realities. This is what I thought about.
Okay. Wow.
So it's called DREAM, and DREAM stands for Dream Big, Research, Evaluate, Act, and Measure. So the Dream Big is when you write down what you want to do without censoring yourself, without saying it's not possible, I don't have enough money. Just write down what you want to do. The research is where you ask yourself, the internet, the librarians, and the universe, who else has done this and how can I do this, right? And then you are, so you're asking experts how to do what it is you want to do. And an expert, and this is very important, is someone who has successfully done what you want to do. Now, that may sound obvious, but the reason I'm being so specific is because the minute you say you want to do something, out of the woodwork will come a bunch of people who have never done what you want to do, but they have lots of opinions on how to do it and why it's not possible for you to do that thing. So when you are asking and seeking information, please seek information from people who know how to do what you want to do. And if you have a conversation with someone about the goal that you have, and they are very negative and can tell you only 900 ways that you're going to fail, then you say, thank you very much, and move on to the next person, the next source of information.
Wow.
Right? So the evaluate piece is where you list the things that you've heard, the things that you've read, the experiences that you've had within your research process, and you say, okay, I can't do everything, and not everything is right for me. Not every piece of advice is right for me. So which of the things that I've heard are the steps that I'm going to follow, right? And then you make yourself a little plan, and then comes the act. You've got to do it. And when you do whatever the steps are to reach your goal, be aware that some of the things you do are not going to work, and some of them are going to work. But that's where your hat comes in, the positive mental attitude. You've got to keep that positive mental attitude as you're going through and trying new things to get to your goal. And then the M in DREAM stands for measure, and that means every week, every 2 weeks, you want to look at what you've done and figure out whether what you've done is getting you closer to your goal. Mm-hmm. So, to go back to your question, what I thought when you read those quotes, mm-hmm. That's what I thought about. I thought about the way that you move from dream to reality, mm-hmm. and how important it is to seek information, to ask for help. Mm-hmm. Nothing worth doing can be done by yourself.
Now, there's some people that say, don't keep your goals, your dreams a secret, because you start telling people your goals and dreams, they're going to try to tell you don't do it, or they're going to wish bad wishes for you. But this is a goal, my goal for 2020. I want to put it out here to you. The doctor's in the house. I want to share it with the doctor. And I already shared it with Mr. Doug over there. He looking at me. So the goal is to do 50 motivational workshops during the year of 2020.
All right.
50. Why I picked the number 50? Because I know Michael Jackson, when he was doing his last tour, it was supposed to be 50. It was like, how you gonna do 50 of them? Like, I mean, those are pretty intense. What he was doing, the dancing and stuff. But I want to do 50 motivational workshops in the year of 2020.
Of course. course it's possible. I mean, we do it. So the thing that you need to do is talk to someone who has done it, right? So if you want to do 50, then that means roughly about one per week. But what you can do is you can get yourself all set up and do one or two each week. So you could do one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday, and the issue is all you have to do is figure out what messages you want to send, and then figure out what organizations are going to open their doors to you to share this information. And you may not even have to find 50 organizations. It may be that there are 5 organizations that want to hear you speak 10 times.
There was a guy, he's got like a basketball mind, this basketball dude. He told me that, look, why are you making faces, man? Why are you making faces? Why are you frowning? He said I should start backwards. 50, 49, 48. I heard that's what Michael Jordan did to somebody he was playing basketball with. Says, I'm going to score 45. Huh?
Steve Smith.
Steve Smith. Yeah, Steve Smith. So he started counting backwards.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to score out. How much you said you were going to score on Steve Smith?
50.
Right, but he only got like 40-something.
Well, they played again the next week.
Yeah. So, what do you feel about that? Counting backwards.
Well, sure. If you're counting backwards, that's sort of just staying positive, because you're saying to yourself, the minute I open my mouth, I've already hit my goal, and then all I have to do is do it again and do it again and do it again. Whatever trick you find to get through it that works. I think what's most important though is focusing on what you want to say and to whom you want to say it.
Right. Well, one of the works, I already got one in the bag already, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Malcolm X, huh? What was that?
Counting the day, right?
No, not this. No. It's got to be.
I heard some motivational here today, so I thought maybe today might.
No, we're not counting the radio. But check this out. So Malcolm X frequented the area of 116th Street.
Yes.
Right. He did. He used to set up the podium, and he just took it to the street. So there's a restaurant in Harlem on 116th Street. I know the guys that run the restaurant. So I'm gonna grab this brother who is a professor, who is a doctor, and got a lot of information. I'm gonna call him and say, hey, we doing a workshop on 116th Street off Lenox Avenue. And he's my radio mentor too.
Okay.
Yeah, that man sitting in that seat right there.
Will we have snacks? Would it be snacks and
food.
reading material?
The food is
Would
there.
Would it be snacks and reading material?
The food is there.
Okay, I'm just saying we got snacks and reading material.
We're going to create a workshop right there on 116th Street. So that's one.
There it is. That's
49 more to go.
That's one. But now you don't have to do 50 individual messages or individual. So you can take this one that you're thinking about, and then find 6 or 7 different audiences, and do the same one 6 or 7 times, and then go to the next set of messages.
Funny thing is, I told him like 3-4 years ago, maybe more. Like, hey man, you got to get on the circuit. You should be on the circuit, man. You should be out there speaking, teaching. I told him that 3, 4, 5 years ago. And then he did a workshop in the Bronx, who this young lady from the radio station just passed, Mary Jefferson. He went up there and did workshops with Mary Jefferson. So the time is right. The time we're going to do it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like something that you can do. It's especially since you're on the radio, because you can tell people where you're going to be, and people will come to hear you.
What about your motivational ministry, man? You're going to leave your motivational ministry aside?
No, we're going to be doing
okay, I think you should count the motivational ministry as part of your workshop. That's just me.
But
I don't know much,
The way I want to do it, because you said like the message, right?
Yes.
And I thought about basketball, right? So one of the most important parts of basketball that I think, because I have a basketball mind, not this guy over here. He said when he came out of his house, he was already open. So he thinking about shooting all the time.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what that means. So
Right.
keep it moving.
So, in my case, I think the most important part is the assist. That's the key. Tiny Archibald, only guy in the NBA to lead the league in scoring and assists in the same year.
Yes.
Only person ever did that. Tiny Archibald. So my thing is the assist. So that's going to be an assist when I have Brother Leroy do a workshop with me and doing with other people as well. I'm going to be getting assists.
Sure. I mean,
That's one of my strategies.
you interview people every week, so maybe what you could do is connect with the people that you interview. Yeah, I will do one with you. Sure, absolutely.
There you
That's
go.
2. 48 more to go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So in fact, what you might want to do is set up the scheduling so that you ask the person to be with you for 2 hours, and the first hour is the radio show, and then the second hour or the second 45 minutes is the
Motivational
presentation.
Motivational ministry right
Yep.
there. Right there, man.
Yo, Doug, was that brilliant or
Oh,
what?
man, please. Please. That became president. It was brilliant.
Wow, that's hot, man. That's hot.
But I want to point out something that you did that I think really worked well. You shared what you wanted to do, and once you shared it around someone who had done it, then that person who has done it was able to brainstorm with you a little bit about how to get it done.
Wow.
Now, had you said the same thing in a room filled with people who had never done presentations, or definitely never done, 10, 20, 50, 80, 100 presentations, then the response might have been, wow, I don't know if that 50, we're already 2 weeks into the year. I don't know if that's possible. You think you can do it? Not because that person is a bad person, but because that person had not had the experience.
There you go.
Or that person might have given you the advice. Listen, so you've got to have 50 individual presentations with 50 different messages at 50 different times, as opposed to being able to see what you're doing here and make a link.
Wow. Hey, Rick, by the way, Tiny Archibald was over when he left his house, by the way. That's where I got that from. Tiny told me that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that's where I got it from, man.
Wow.
The Hall of Famer, man. You know we tight. I'm going to give him to come in here. So
Yeah.
I'm giving him to come in here so he can, shut you down.
Oh, no. That's come on, man.
That'll be another one of your events.
Not to change the subject,
Sure.
but this is all a part of what we're talking about. So when they talk about Mount Rushmore, the great players, for some reason, I don't hear nobody mention Julius Erving, the doctor. To me, that's crazy. This
Okay.
guy ran a whole league.
Do you know who he is?
Huh?
Does she know who Julius Erving is?
Do you know who Dr. J. Julius Erving is?
Yes,
The
I'm
doctor?
I'm not a sports person, but I can envision him. I know who he is.
Yeah, the doctor, right? So
Wow.
they mention all these other people. You don't hear the doctor. I'm like, what? That he's gonna be the first one on my Mount Rushmore or my main five. He's in there. Mm-hmm. I seen him play with the Virginia Squires. Where you could actually, after the game, we were on the court, standing there, little kid, and he's standing there being interviewed with the towel around his neck in the Nassau Coliseum. Mm-hmm. He played with the New York Nets, right? I seen him in City College play in the summer league, him and Tiny Archibald on the same team. That was incredible. That was what they call crazy. Nate Archibald, Julius Erving on the same team?
Okay, I'm not familiar with Archibald.
Yeah. Comment on that, sir?
What do you mean? It was Tiny A and Dr. J. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. Wow. So we moving. This is great. Now I met you, like I said earlier, in the most dangerous place that you could meet somebody, and that's the New York City Library.
Absolutely, yes. We were there at the library. We worked with the New York Public Library for a while, presenting workshops on a bunch of financial topics in English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, and Cantonese, all within the same week, sometimes within the same month, definitely.
Who's speaking Chinese?
We have a
Oh,
team,
yeah, other
so we
people.
had yes, but
What does that guy speak over there?
Pedro speaks
Pedro.
Spanish.
Pedro Pablo.
Pedro speaks Spanish,
Pedro.
but
Pedro.
we have a team of people who speak the different languages, including me. Ni men hao.
Oh,
Is that German?
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
Ni
yes.
hao.
And for a group, ni
Yeah,
men
yeah.
hao.
Me, yeah. Me, yeah.
So how did you connect with the libraries?
Someone introduced me to the woman who worked on programming for the library, and at the time they had a grant available to pay for financial presentations.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure that grant still exists anymore. However, it brings me to an important point, and that is this. One of the reasons why people don't reach their goals or they just give up, let's say they start in January with New Year's resolutions and they're really excited, and then by March they give up completely. One of the reasons is because they are trying to do whatever they're trying to do on their own, 100% on their own, and nothing valuable happens by yourself. You need other people, and you need information. And the New York Public Library, and all the public libraries in New York, by the way, are wonderful sources of professionals who can help you to work on your goal, especially if you have financial goals. They are sources of books, access to computers if you don't have access to computers. If you have young children and you get to the library at the very beginning of the school year, they will even give your young children tablets to use, to take home, and hotspots so that your child can have internet access in the house. So the point is that you write down what you want to do, and you figure out where you can get the help. So the New York Public Library, Queens Public Library, and Brooklyn Public Library, great places, not just for information, but for resources, for classes. In the New York Public Library, there is I don't know where it is exactly. You have to call and find out. But for people who like to do video and create little shows and things, they have an entire room with the most updated technology, the Macintoshes and everything that you would need to create your own shows. They have that at the library.
What do you think about the fact that they built a radio streaming radio station in the projects here in Grant? What do you think about that?
I think it's wonderful, and I think that what needs to happen is people need to then say, all right, here's a resource. How can I make use of this resource? Mm-hmm. And more people should. I don't know how many people do, but I didn't see a long line on the outside as I was coming in, and I should have. I should have seen a line of people. I should have seen people just trying to figure out how to get access to this.
We're still in the early stages right now. We're still formulating, putting it together.
Yeah,
Probably need some marketing. You know, we probably need to get somebody who actually knows something about marketing, who could probably help you out, Rick. You know, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Someone knows like these different marketing techniques. Right. Someone who's done it before, so you can write down your goals.
So
I'm just wondering. I don't know.
What do you think about this? I think one of the reasons why this has took off as well as it has and is growing and things are happening, right?
Yes.
and I caught that show. I caught that show. I did watch that show. The guy that one of the major players that put this thing together, he's not money driven. It's like, oh, every nickel, every penny. He's not money driven. So he's about the project and making it successful. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I think it's wonderful when people take their talents and their resources.
That lady is really smart, man.
Right?
That's why she's sitting in that seat.
People didn't hear what you said. Could you just say that part again?
I said I think it's wonderful when people take their talents and their resources and they use them to uplift and to empower. That's one of the greatest things that you can do. Part of what Soul Strivers does, and you know this because you've seen us at the libraries, is we make sure that every year there is a certain amount of time that we spend out in the community doing workshops like the one where you saw us the first time, and also once a year we actually work one-to-one with community members who are interested in building their budgets and things like that. So I think it's important.
I want to say that this is important. This is very important. I think I said it before and it kind of was jumped over. But I want to really. This is a very important point. I'm blessed. I'm a blessed person, right? I've been around a lot of great motivational champions. I've been around us. I've seen champion greatness. Les Brown, I've been around. George Frazier, Dr. Leroy. I've been around a lot of women, success, right? My point, I heard somebody say one time, he said, how'd that thing go? You said about your daughter. How'd that thing go?
Oh, you mean that I always want my daughter to know that there's one man in this world who'll do anything for her and they want nothing in return except for to be happy? You mean that one?
That is one of the most powerful. That goes up there to me with the Tony Robbins quotes. What do you think about that?
Yes. Yes. Knowing that you have a source of support out there and that source of support it's unconditional. It wants nothing from you in
except when they want
return.
like a quarter more to work, for me to pay them a quarter more than I would pay somebody else. That's different.
But yeah, I mean, I think so. And we joke, but one of the things that I think about when I think about why some people are successful and other people struggle before they reach success, because I believe everybody can reach success. But a success factor, at least in my life, my early success was having a dad who was really involved in my life and a mom who was really involved in my life. And they didn't always have lots of money to give me. It wasn't about money. It's about that unconditional love. It's about sharing what they knew. Like my parents did a lot of, both of them, mom and dad, did a lot of sharing information. So it's not just, it's not just, were they able to buy me the most expensive pair of jeans or of shoes. It wasn't about that. It was about what do they know and what can they share with me? What did they share with me? What do they know? So I think it's a very important for people to feel that they have someone. It doesn't have to be a mother or father. It could be an aunt or an uncle, but that they have someone in the world who will back them.
Every woman needs that. They need to have somebody who they know. Because, so much going on out here and all kind of crazy shit. So you need somebody who will be able to go, I got you. Just don't come to me. I would tell my sisters and my don't come to me first. Don't come to the easy, sure thing first. Try to figure it out on your own. Don't come to the automatic yes. Right off the top.
But there's a lot of women that feel that they don't get something unless they give something up.
I found that, I've been in my building, I would like see a lady, in the hallway, and I'm gonna help you with carry, the thing upstairs. They go, no. What are you talking about? I'm gonna help them I would help them anyway, and they always would say no because I think they're concerned about asking people for help because people may want something. So you have to like help them. Say, look, I'm just helping you out because people always help me.
And you know what? It's not just women. It's people in general, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because I talked about the New York Public Library, but the other thing to remember is that for whatever your goal is, there is a nonprofit or government organization whose job it is to help you get there. So here are some examples. If you want to buy a house, for example, and you have a low income or a moderate income, all you have to do is put in New York City, I think it's Home Down Payment Assistance Program. They actually have them all over the United States. And these are programs where some of the programs work where you have to take a course, a free course or a very, $20, $30 course. And after you take that course, whether it's a full day course or it's a couple of weeks, 1 hour a week, at the end of that, you get a grant for your home down payment of up to $40,000.
Wow.
Just for sitting in a course, learning about home ownership, learning about how to manage a home, and then you get a grant. So that's just one example. How about if you want to change your career? The New York City government, just put in New York City government job training programs, and you will see that the New York City government has all types of job training, from construction to, if you want to be in the movies, they've got a production assistant program. I just read that they have a new program to teach you how to be a line cook, and eventually, you go from there to become a chef to pay for your chef training. I mean, it's basically when I think about DREAM, which is the way that we go from dream to reality, that research part. Dream big, research, evaluate, act, and measure. That research part is super important because there's always somebody out there whose job it is to help you.
Tell me about your coaching program.
Okay, so we've got a couple of coaching programs, but the bottom line is this. This is how it works. You go to my website at SoulStrivers, SoulStrivers.com, and you sit down with me. There's a place where you can connect with me, and you sit down with me and we talk about what your goals are. And I will tell you in that 1 hour period of time what I think about your goals, who can help you, how we as a company can help you, and where else you might go to get the help that you need. And then after that, if you want to come back and work with us, then you can work with us for a month, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, and the pricing, we manage the pricing based on how long you're working with us.
Well, Doug, I will be taking up that offer, but let me just check this out. This young lady right here made a contribution, with the radio WCR. Made a contribution. You know that sister that was up there passed away that came.
Yes.
Did you know that? How'd you know that?
Yeah, I saw it online. She was a wonderful lady.
Daia.
Yeah.
Who?
Daia.
Oh, Sister Daia. Oh, yeah, she was cool.
Yes.
They met.
I was on her show.
I was on her show
a couple of years ago. No, a couple of years ago. Before.
Okay.
What do you mean a day, Rick?
Huh?
She's been dead for a couple of years.
No, this is relatively recent. It was like 2 years ago, right?
I said she was dead for 2 years.
Oh, I thought you said a couple of years.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
She just died recently.
Yeah.
I didn't know that y'all had known each other before. I didn't know that.
Yes, I had been on her show. A couple, I think maybe more than once, twice. I don't know.
Okay.
So yes, I do know that she passed away, but she was a wonderful woman. She was a woman who brought all her talents to the table, and really was like you know, online to empower people, to help people understand
She had a great voice.
what they had. Oh yeah,
She had a great voice.
absolutely.
Yeah. So she made a contribution to the show for me,
Oh, wonderful.
and then you did too, and I didn't forget that.
Oh,
Yes.
that's nice.
So yeah.
And you know what? Talking about one of the things that I talk about in the book is the importance in when we're talking about the research and actually doing what you do. Networking is very important. And one of the people I met at your party on that day was someone I did some work with later on. In fact, we all went to Las Vegas and did a show for about 100, around 150 people. We did a 3-hour presentation. And that was with Kim Wheeler. And the name of her organization is the Love Group, and I was their keynote. And
Wow.
and we worked on there were
Vegas is a nice place.
It wasn't but 3 people in the party.
I like Vegas, man. Yeah.
And look at that. There was like 3 people in the party and one. Look at that.
Vegas is a nice place. That's all I
yes.
know.
So we flew out and we were there for
That's not
for a
fun, though.
couple of days.
Flying ain't no fun.
It was actually more than 3 people, but it wasn't a lot of people.
Wasn't a
there.
lot of people. She still made a nice contact.
Isn't that
Like
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you know, I would like to see how we could get, because, you know, one of my pet things is, you know, getting money from the city. And it sounds like your guest has actually figured out what I already know, that the city has lots and lots and lots of money. I don't have a lot of respect for any of these stupid-ass programs, but I do have a lot of respect that they have lots and lots of money, and it's not theirs. And I think if you're going to think big, you want to think past jobs. I hate that word, but it's just me. I think you want to figure out a way how to get allotments from them, because they have plenty of money and it's not their money.
Well, you know, now
Just saying.
Now, I talked about jobs, but the other thing I didn't talk about is the small business services. And by the way, none of them are paying me for this. So if they want to pay me, that's fine. No, really. The New York City has strong programs to help small businesses to grow, and not just to grow from entry level to mid level. They have programs to help you grow from mid-level to multi-million. And these programs are out there. They are free. SBS.gov. In fact, our company went through one of their programs called the Products and Services.
Yeah, but the black guy runs that, right? Big, tall black guy runs that agency. A black dude, he runs a big, tall black guy.
Greg,
right?
Greg Bishop.
Greg,
yes.
right. So, you know, we interviewed him. And we interviewed him and about some of their, you know, I just think they, you know, I think they should be doing a lot more than what they really do. Just me.
You know that's debatable, to be sure, but let's take advantage of what's there already, and people don't know that there are organizations where you can actually go with your idea about a company and then sit down with someone who will help you put together a business plan. And then once you have a business plan and you've had some of your first clients, then there's another program that can help you to take your first few clients and actually do business with the government. And then once you've done that, there's another program on top of that that will say, okay, you've been doing business with the government for X number of years. Let's help you get bigger contracts. Let's help you connect with other organizations that are doing lots of business with NYC.
There's a gentleman that, when you say the word contract,
Yes.
he's not too happy with that word contract. He gets like
crazy.
It's crazy when you say contracts.
And why is that?
Because I don't trust them, and it's been my experience that they do exactly opposite of all of that, and they have a great, wonderful talking machine about what they do, but at the end of the day, they don't do shit. And when you look at the macro of what they do with that money and how much money that they have to spend, because one day Brother Leroy had the controller up here, and the controller sat down and said, the city spends $17.2 billion buying goods and services. 98% of it go to white men. 50% of the 2% that's left go to white women. So it became very clear to me that whenever we did that interview, if you're a woman and you have 2 children, and if you're a white woman, you have 2 children, you and your daughter, and one's a daughter, one's a son, you and your daughter are minorities, but your son is not. And I don't see how that's right. And I don't give a shit what they talk about down there. I got no love for them. And, I think, if I had a chance, I'd take my pistol down there and say, give me my money. Because I just don't think, and maybe that's going a little overboard, but my point is that they have these programs and it's just lip service when you can have $17 billion that they're spending every 12 months, and 98% of it go to white men who only make up 17% of the population. So 17% of the population gets 98% of the money that belongs to everybody. So when I hear people like you talking about the virtues of their program, I always think about the virtues of the things that they're not doing. And, look at a place like this. The New York City Housing Authority got more people than the state of Vermont. Half of the people who live in the Housing Authority are unemployed. Did you know that? Half of the people are unemployed. The city of New York, down in Hudson Yards over there, spent $3.5 billion for one subway station. The budget for all of NYCHA is $3.5 billion.
Well,
so there you go. So now you know why I have a little contempt for them.
You know what?
I think that's the right way to say it, contempt.
But you know what? And I've heard you. But here's the plan, though. Here's what we have to do. So what we have to do is be present and be in the room, and I'm not saying that we aren't.
You are right.
Because I'm there. But what I'm saying, though, is we've got to do even more. So when they say, okay, here is a program for women and minority-owned businesses, and so then we have to show up at the program, and we have to show up in such numbers that we filled up the entire program, and now they have to do more. They've got to open up another one.
Why do they have a program where white men are not asked to be certified? Why would they ask women and black people to be certified? And then you're not allowed to get a contract bigger than $3 million. And white men, and dig this, they take money from all of us. But white men are not asked to do that. They got 26 mayoral agencies, and all of the ones that spend money are run by white men. So I don't see why I would go down to a program and ask somebody who's financially kicking me in my ass to help me.
Well,
so how do you respond to that?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, I think that there are some challenges in the facts. So, first of all, there are some of these programs that are meant for small businesses and also women and minority-owned businesses. That's the way that you get into the door.
Whose money is it, though? That's the question.
But
whose money is it?
Wait, hold on. That's the way you get into the door, right? And then once you're in there for a bit, you're going to get too big for the programs.
I don't know anybody like that.
So then you graduate out of the program.
We don't know anybody like that. We've been doing this for a long time. We haven't seen one person who can get up and say, I'm a black person, I'm a Spanish person, I'm Cuban, and I'm Puerto Rican, and I have a contract from the city of New York for $150 million. Nobody. And you don't know anybody like that, and neither do we, and we've been looking. And we've seen three or four different controllers come through, and we've seen a lot of nice people like you come in and say, oh, this program is nice. It's a program that's created by white men to make sure that nobody gets anything.
Well, here's the deal. I'm not saying that there isn't room for improvement. There's lots of room for improvement. But we need to be there. Right, so we need to. We can't.
Do we need to be there, or do we need to be there, stand around the room, wait for them to throw us a crumb? Because that's what they're doing.
What I'm saying is, we can't we can't say no to the crumb, is what I'm saying.
I'm saying no to the crumb every
I'm-
day.
look.
Every day I'm saying no to the crumb because I ain't that kind of a man.
Well, look.
And I don't want my daughter. I wouldn't want my grandkids. I wouldn't want my sisters to actually to be that way. You need to go for everything.
Do you know that there's some people who would say, and I don't agree with them, by the way, but there's some people who would say, oh, the reason we haven't spent more with companies of color is because, I don't agree with this, by the way, is because we can't find them. They're not in the pool.
They're lying.
Now,
They're
understand.
lying. Look at this
Of
place right
course.
here. Look at that line. Listen, if I wanted to make sure that I wanted to keep people out, I would set criteria that make sure that you couldn't meet them. That's what I would do. I mean, I don't see anything. When I say that, I'm not saying that, somebody's right or wrong or you shouldn't be in the program. I'll never knock anybody for getting in it. So don't take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I look at it differently. I say, wait a minute. If I'm running things and look at the numbers, forget about everything else. Look at the numbers. So if there is a $92 billion, and Brother Leroy had the assemblyman in here 2 weeks ago, and he told us that New York State has a budget of $175 billion. Just the macro. New York City budget this year is $94 billion. That's more money than 5 African countries. So why when that money that doesn't belong to them, it's not all of their money, it belongs to everybody. Why are they setting up these kind of programs that limit people? They don't ask the white men to get in any of these programs you're talking about. There are no white men asked to be in those programs. And they're all generated by someone white. And they tell you, and they tell me, that we can't. Here's the stories they use. We can't pay. We can't find anybody to pay because you don't have the skills. What? You can pay people faster, but they won't do that. They'll use the fact that they don't want it, that they pay very slowly to force you out. Well, we can't give you a big contract because you don't have the capital. But they won't give you the capital because the capital is controlled by them. Number 4, then they'll turn around and say, well, that is a good idea. They want you to bring all the good ideas to them. Now, I worked at a venture capital firm for 11 years, me and Stu, that was run by two black Harvard MBAs. And everything you saying was everything that they was against because they believed that, the people in New York were punks. Because in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, they got rules, they got laws that says that African American and black people got to get 30% of the money. They don't have that here. What they have here is a program where they are practicing economic apartheid. I mean, I don't know how you can look at it. You're a pretty smart lady. You're in the pipeline, and I can see why they would have you in there. You're smart, you're young, you educated, you talk well. They would want they want people like you. But if you're really looking around and seeing who are the real entrepreneurs in the world, they don't all look the same. There's all kinds of different ways that people look and act and deal with and sound.
Yeah.
And when you have a big pile of money that belongs to everybody and one small group is controlling it, everything that comes out of there is in their favor. And for some reason, people don't want to deal with that. Now, I used to be a basketball player. So he's talking about contracts, I used to be a basketball player. I played with the NBA guys, but I knew I wasn't getting in the NBA because I was a criminal. So even though I played with all of those guys, I was just as good as any of them. I knew I was just as good as them. I knew I wasn't getting no contract from no damn NBA because they're not taking convicted felons in the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay? So when I look at that and I hear contracts, I hear, come on, just like Mr. Farrakhan said, a contract is an instrument between two people who have a word that they intend to keep. That's what a contract is. Mm-hmm. You have to have two people. They work out the thing. You're going to keep your word. They don't have a word that they keep. They look for people like you who are smart and energetic, and then they tell you, you don't worry, we like you. They do the we like you shit. And that's what's supposed to make everything work all right when it's not their fucking money.
Well, you know what? I have heard everything.
But I have no opinion, though.
No. I'm about to tell you what my opinion is.
I have one. I have none, though. I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but I do have an opinion about it. And I think that especially you mentioned what's happening in Washington D.C. and in Atlanta, and what I'm here to tell you is that was not always the case.
No,
what
you're
they
right.
Did.
You're right. You're
but,
right.
But what we need to do is
You're
the
right.
same thing that they did. So the next time Albany has their meetings, their MWBE meetings, their ABC meetings, we need to be there and say, look, here is there's a precedent for this. We need more of this, but the challenge is that people get frustrated and then they just turn their back all the way and say, look, I'm not even dealing with this stuff. I can grow with private contracts. And I know that frustration because I felt that way myself. But we've got to sort of push through that frustration, push through those obstacles so that we can have the same types of opportunities.
Well, if you don't have the conversation, that we're having with them, it's not going to happen. You have to get in their face and say, it's not your fucking money. And I don't want to hear none of your excuses because they're all excuses. Because I've been in deals where we've gone in a room and just for instance, we did a deal with Magnavox and Magnavox Financing. So Magnavox has this whole credit division that finances your particular deals. So we went to them and to do a deal with them about an equipment-based kind of a deal, standard procedure. And there was a guy sitting in there who was waiting. I'll never forget, their headquarters is on 42nd Street, right across from the Penn Station. And the big poopah, the big white guy, Walter, he walks in. And we're waiting outside to talk to him because he's the guy that could bless your deal. And there was a guy in there who was buying 3 TV stations from out of Houston. He was getting his credit from Magnavox. So they went in and they told him, they said, guess what? We're going to put up we're going to give you the money for the equity. We're going to give the debt money that you need. We're not going to ask you to sign over none of your personal assets because all of those are all things that they ask you to do in order to take. There's a covenants and loans and stuff. They ask you to, if you have a house, you put up your house so that somebody may give you $10 million to buy an asset, but they want you to have skin in the game. But when they don't care about that, then they make it all possible for you. The city can do the same thing. If the city wanted to let somebody have a big enough deal, the city could put up the equity, the city could pay you faster, the city could give you the bond. They ask you for things that they know you can't get. And we keep falling for that. We keep falling for the same thing. We keep thinking that this kind of paternalism, that's what I'm calling it, the kind of paternalism that they use is not a way to help everybody. It's a way for them to filter out and just pick the people who they think are special, which I'm not against that. But I think that it's not their money. And the more we can let people know what they're doing to everyone with the money that can help us. Because you're not going to go to private equity and get the money because the people in private equity, they don't need you. They got their little white kids. They got their little people with assets. They got people who can check the box. If you want to find things this is just my opinion, that are experimental, you need to have the public spend because the government is the only person who can spend money on things and not have the same kind of risk factor or the same kind of rate of return like a private investor would. A private investor said, I'm gonna give you $1 million, man. I want to get back a million, 1.1. I want to get back 10% on my money. The government doesn't have to do that. And I think we're missing that. We're missing that they should be the ones that have the innovative money, the go take a chance money. It should come from them because it's not theirs. And we don't do that. We get in the room and they have all of these programs, tell you to sign here, fill this out, all this shit, and then it don't mean nothing. One last thing. So, we did a project with the state where Patterson gave us a contract. He gave us a non-minority contract. When the white people in Albany found out that me and Stu, who's black, Columbia guy, who's my partner, helped us all build this. They came to us and they said, we went to them, we said, part of the contract is you have to give 20% of the contract. These are state contracts. You have to give 20% of the state contract to a minority. So we went to them and said, well, who's the minority? Because, we're black. So that means we got to find some white guy. This is what we're saying. They went bananas. Dig what they did. They made me and Stu, and I'm going to bring this in. They made me and Stu the MWBEs of the month and gave us $100,000. They gave us the MWBE of the month and then gave us $100,000 out of the $2 million that they had owed us from the contract that we had. So they told us, we're going to make you the MWB. We didn't sign nothing. We've never been MWB. But to satisfy the white guys, they had to say, and they put out a publication, I got it, that says that our company was the MWB of the month. And we ain't never been no MWB, ain't never been nowhere near it, for the very reason I've been saying for the last 10 minutes. We've always refused it. But the state, when it came time for us to get one of our payments, they told all of the rest of the people in the state that we were the MWBs of the month. So this is how far their economic sadisticness goes. You see what I'm saying? They couldn't even allow someone they couldn't even announce that we had a non-MWBE contract. They couldn't even do it. So when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm talking about this stuff from experience that I've seen what they will do. They will fool you and do just what you see that guy doing who's, is in charge. And they will tell you all kinds of stuff. And you'll never know that they had that kind of money. You wouldn't know that they spending $17 billion every 12 months. Brother Leroy, when he interviewed the controller, Brother Leroy said, well, what about the Board of Ed? He said, oh, that's a separate $27 billion. Brother Leroy said, oh, what? Wait a minute. Brother Lee had to ask him like 3 times. Wait a minute. What about the 20? Because these how huge the numbers was. And then the guy said to Brother Leroy, he said, listen, they're telling everybody that that's not the discrimination in the money is not true, that the city is really spending more with minorities. He said, I sign every check. I know who's getting and who's not getting. This is the controller. Yep. So once we saw it, and it's on YouTube, because, I recorded that, Brother Leroy. And it's on YouTube, but that's when we kind of learned, because we all thought it was a rumor. And when he came in, we all walked out. Our Georgia was going, they're just taking the cash, spending it with their homies, because you wouldn't allow your own family to go and say, you know what? Everybody put up their money. I'm going to take 98% of the money, and I'm going to give it up with my friends, and y'all split the rest. We wouldn't allow that. But it happens here, and they divert the conversation about how big the prize is. Not, that's how they do you. They get you, that's why I brought the NBA thing. You look at the big NBA contracts and all this stuff, and you be going like, oh, I'm good enough. I'm playing with them. I'm hanging out with them. I'm riding around in the car with all of them. But I'm not getting in the league because they don't take certain people. Yep. And they'll tell you that to your face. They're going, yo, man, you good enough, but you ain't getting in here. What they don't do downtown is they don't tell you that you're good enough and you ain't getting. They say, oh, look, we're going to have a great program and you can do this and you can do that. And it seems like a lot. It really does. You can make up to $5 million. Well, what they don't tell you is that the white guys is getting contracts for 35, 55, 200, 300, and they do all kinds of things for them to make sure that they have the money, the things they don't do for you.
Absolutely. That does happen.
It happens all the time.
But my point is that we need to be there at the table for the $5 million, fighting for the $35 million, not leaving the $5 million on the table.
I'm not saying that.
And saying I'm just done.
I'm not
with
saying
this
that.
entire
I think you got to go to the politicians
Sure.
who we're putting in power and saying you could get my vote once you decide that you're going to make sure that money's equal, that we get an allocation. That's how you have to do it. Forget about being. I think it's nice to be at the table, but I've been at the table and they'll sit there and act like you're not even there. I've sat at the table and heard a lawyer from the back of the room go, well, how are you going to pay us back the money? And I look at the lawyer and go, are you a venture capitalist? Is this your money? No, then what are you talking about? And then, I'm just saying, you have people who will sit in there and put their little 2 cents in because they believe that it's their God-given right that they're in charge of the money. And until we walk in there and say, the shit ain't yours, and we want ours, or this is going to be a problem, they already know who we are. So you just you need to be more at the table. You need to put the fear of God of the people who are the politicians who ask for our vote and go down there and make sure that they're looking out for us, because they're not. They're not looking out for us. That's my point. And that poor Greg, I like that guy. But that guy's, dig this. He told me one time, he said, listen, all of the mayor agencies are not allowed to spend more than $50,000 without getting approval from downtown. So if you run the mayor agency and you want to give Deone Dione, if you wanted to give Dione, if Greg wanted to give you a contract more than $150,000, he couldn't do it. Even if you had the best idea in the world, he's not allowed. And we were at a meeting in Brooklyn. We interviewed him where they had moved it up because it used to be $25,000 that no agency could do, and they put it up to $50,000. And he was going, and he told me, he said, man, you know, we had to do just to get him to double that. I said, that's no money. That's no money. That's no money in the big scheme of things. So more has to happen than getting at the table. People have to be woken up about how big the pie is. If you know how big the pie is, then you would be thinking like you'd be going, because you said something about thinking big.
Yeah.
So that's what caught my attention. I said we should think much bigger. We don't need to be at the table. We need to roll in on the people who decide who goes in the room.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to. We really do, because it's bigger. Because an idea like you have right here, and they'll nickel and dime you to death. You can have the best idea in the world. They'll give you $20,000, make you jump all over, spin quack like a duck and all this stuff just to get something else. And you're doing good work. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
If we went and said, hey, you know what? Because think about how they cut the budget up. They cut the budget. The people who decide. The speaker is the person who decides where the money go, as per his guy. And some white guys out of Brooklyn and Queens decide who's going to be the speaker. They decide. You can't have a city where 17% of the population is white men, and they control everything. When you think about that, that is ridiculous. Wow. That's a little depressing, I'm sure.
No, but I think the point that we're both making, though, is that we need to make our voices heard about the macro issues.
Yeah, we need to demand.
And where we might differ a bit is how we handle the micro. So I'm saying macro.
Stay in the game. Stay in the game. I ain't telling you. I'm not advocating for people like you to get out the game and don't be in. I ain't saying that. I'm saying that somebody also has to be on the other side going,
absolutely,
this is some bullshit. This ain't enough.
Absolutely.
So, because you're not supposed to say that. You need the people in there going, well, we doing everything we're supposed to, but you need somebody else, a bigger voice of people saying the shit is not enough, it's not big enough.
Yeah.
And lay out all the who don't haves, like the housing, because they think here that everybody here ain't supposed to do nothing. They ain't got no love, they ain't got no love for the people in authority.
So Dione,
yes,
we have to do this again.
Yeah, please.
Yes,
we have to do this again.
Yeah. Bring some more evidence.
I was trying to get you back up to the other. The early morning doesn't work.
The early morning at the moment is not working. However, well, no, I did it. I did it.
It's
early
hard.
Morning.
It's
I
hard.
did it early
it
morning
is hard.
before.
It's
yeah.
hard.
But we're going to see if we can make that work, because for every season there's a financial type issue. So.
Okay.
For this season,
NBA.
Of course, it's New Year's resolutions.
NBA.
For February, it's money and love. So there's always something to talk about when it comes to money.
One more time, the coaching. How does the coaching work again? If someone wants to get involved in coaching,
Yeah, the best way is you can email me directly at Diony, Diony, at Soulstrivers, SOLESTRIVERS.com.
What if someone wanted to get coaching, but they don't have a lot of money, but they need coaching, need help? What about in a case like that?
Well, now here is where no. Here is where you can do two things. One of two things. One, we talk to large employee groups. So you can go to your human resources area and ask, and they have people come over all the time. Ask for Soul Strivers to come and do some coaching and some financial workshops, and they will pay for us. The other thing that you can do is you can email me and tell me what you're interested in. And what I will do, and I've done it many times, is if I get 5 people or 10 people who want to work on one issue, for example, debt reduction, or if they want to work on just saving money, or if they want to work on doing their entire financial planning and there are 5 or 10 people who want to do it, I will take one session, break it up into 10 different pieces. Everybody pays a little piece, and we can do. I will have 5 people at the table or 10 people at the table instead of just one. So that's
like
what
that.
we can do.
So I had a guy on the phone one day, and I asked him a question. He's involved somewhat with the Napoleon Hill Foundation.
Yes.
So I said to him, what would happen if we got a small group of people throughout this community, this project,
Yeah.
and they started studying, reading, Think and Grow Rich? I said, what would happen? He said, it would no longer be the grant projects, it would be the grant estates. That's what he said. But then after that, we had George Fraser on the line, and he's talking about the planet. The what?
Yeah, you said one
The
nation.
planet.
Yeah.
No, nation. Yeah,
one nation.
turn this into like a nation. I mean, like I said, wow, these guys got big dreams and
Big dreams.
big dreams. So
Big dream.
now we have you here.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you this. I'll put this on the table. If you find, we have to work on schedule, but I know this goes out to the Grant Houses community. If you find 15 people here in this community who want to get together and work on 4 or 5 financial literacy issues, I will come for whatever you guys can put together, including some home-cooked meals. I will come and
There's no F for no bean pie, though.
I will,
Crossing the line, brother. Leave.
yeah, I will come and do a series of 4 to 8 workshops. But because of costs, I can't be in too involved in all
Yeah.
of the putting together. What I'm saying is I will come
Make the
with my
presentation.
knowledge and some PowerPoints and some
Cool.
and
That's
the
for sure.
book, and you bring the people and you do all of the other stuff. I will come. So how about that?
That
What does
works.
that
That
sound
sounds
like?
good. But then we also have Manhattanville too, which is just right across the road on the other side. So,
It's one room, so you bring everybody to that one room
but
right outside
you know,
here.
When it comes to money, we really don't have a money issue because anytime if we need some money, Mr. Doug right there is loaded, so we ain't got no money issues.
It's
Right,
not
Mr. Doug?
it's not about having the
You
money.
said loaded,
it's,
right.
It's knowing what to do with it. So that's where we come in. What to do
That's right.
with that
You
money.
didn't hear her earlier lesson about money and how quick money will get away from you.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
So you need that. But I like more importantly, you need more importantly is you need the kind of stuff we talking about. You need people to be more aware of marketing of how the community, because remember the one thing about the politicians, they soft. They ain't really all that tough. So if you have some sort of collective idea that says, we want to get more of that cash,
Yep.
they gonna roll with that. I mean, you know what I mean? And again, a lot of the things that they do, they give out these block grants and they go, tell them we got this amount of money. What about the program? Blah blah blah. Because they all the money that they're expecting to get this year, they was planning for it last year because they know that they're in the pipeline for the cash. So you have to, if you want to get an allocation, like you said, be at the table, then you have to tell them. You have to get the people in there and say, hey, this is a benefit and we know where the money is, and they got it.
Yeah.
And if people understand that, they don't, the actually trying to tell our kids that they need a job, it actually to me is not beneficial to us.
Deone, do you have a card?
I do have a card. I do.
Yeah.
So here's one. So here we go.
Go back over that dream big.
Yes. Okay. So DREAM stands. Dream big.
Research, evaluate, act. What's the
And measure. So dream big, research, evaluate, act, and measure.
We just did that.
Yeah.
We did that. We measured that the $17 billion. We dreamed we need to dream bigger.
Yes.
Someone evaluated the issue for Miss D. I can't say her name. For Miss D over.
Deone.
For Miss Dione.
Yes.
And we are now and we're analyzing, sitting down together, trying to analyze what can be done next?
Yes, and then we need to act. It's
Yes.
it's all about acting. Just one point that I should make because we're talking about these things and it's very important. It's this: when you are trying to reach a financial goal or just any goal that you've never reached before, you're going to be hitting a lot of obstacles. And as we were talking about the goal of building businesses, we were talking about a lot of obstacles. But the important thing is that you know that they're there, you know what's going to happen, and you have to keep pushing. You can't let those obstacles stop you. And sometimes those obstacles are human beings. Sometimes those obstacles are our own emotions. Correct. You've got to push past it. We've got to, the only way to do something that you have never done before is to go through that fire process of learning and pushing through the obstacles. Think about it as a wall. You walk through the wall. You get bruised, but you get big, and then you can walk through a bigger wall.
Keep getting up.
So once you get past the obstacles,
yes,
guess what's there? Opportunities.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Those 5 steps, what's the value of world travel? On the front of your book.
Yes. Oh, okay. So these are just examples of goals that people have. So one of the examples is some people who want to travel the world. So what's the value? You're asking me what's the value of traveling the world?
Right.
Yeah.
To that overall program. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah. No. These are just goals that people have. But the whole.
The world is a goal
Yeah.
as relates to dream big.
Exactly. So what this book does is it breaks down what you should be thinking, what you should be asking, where you can go for help, how to evaluate all of the things that you've done so far so that you can make it to the next step. So this book does an excellent job. It's called Make Your Dreams Happen, 5 Steps to Turn Your Dreams into Realities. And it does an excellent job of walking you through the process of going from dream to reality. And if you get me those people here, the 10 to 15 people here who want to work on either a financial goal or just a life goal, then we will go through some of the work here.
What's the very basic one that you would find in a population like the 15 people being brought in? What would be a basic one?
Oh, basic goal? Usually it's saving money or reducing debt. Those are 2 big ones. Saving money or reducing debt. Those are two big goals.
Debt and then saving money.
Yes, there's
I'm just playing around. They're gonna have debt.
Yes, but here's the deal. If you have a whole lot of debt and you have $0 for emergency funds, let's say you got $500. You shouldn't use all that $500 to pay your debt because you need some money for the emergency fund. So we're going to pay the debt as quickly as we can, but over time. The emergency fund actually is more important than paying down your debt to 0, because if you just use every penny to pay down your debt, then the next time you have an issue, what are you going to do? You're going to use your credit card to get you out of it.
You find poor people do that.
I'm aware.
Their integrity.
I'm aware.
You said,
I
Yeah,
said
Mr.
I'm
Lu-
aware. I'm aware.
I thought you said you was working at one time.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Mr. Luke.
Thank you, Rick.
All right.
Hello, Mr. Luke.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna
On the money.
bring this to an end,
Yes.
Hold on, man. Hold on.
and I'm gonna thank you for being here today. It was very powerful. This guy there is very dynamic
Absolutely.
and a lot of passion.
Yes.
We gotta do it again.
I'm open to doing it again. We just need to find a place on our schedules. But this was wonderful, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
All right.
so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Doug. Okay. All
I'll
right.
call you right back.